Okay, guys, we're going to continue dealing with our patterns in quadratic graphing. So in the center of the first, let me back up for a minute. I am going to use one of the graphing foldables. So make sure that you have one of the graphing ones out. And in the center of this, we're going to do patterns in quadratic graphing. And this one is part 2. Now, I've kind of split these up really so that they're not overwhelming. I just want to make sure that you get a good understanding of what you're doing and aren't struggling. So I'm going to go to the first one and go ahead and start graphing. So on my first one, I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can see this. I've turned mine sideways because I am going to write on it this way like I did on the last one. And then when I'm done, I'm going to turn it right side up so I can write on the graph correctly. So I'm going to start, directions are going to be about the same on almost all of these. It's going to be make a table, and graph. The only thing that's going to change for each one of these is the actual equation we're using. So I have y equals x minus 2 in parentheses squared. So what's different about this is the stuff is in parentheses and the squared's on the outside. That's different than the last couple. So we're going to see how that changes what we're doing. So I'm going to do the same thing that I started with before. I'm going to use my x values to make a table. And I'm going to start with negative 2 to 2. And I know on this one, I'm going to take this and put it right in the top. Now, one at a time, I'm going to go through and take these x values and plug them in here. So one at a time, just like I did on my table making in the other ones, I'm going to do the same thing. So negative 2 minus 2 squared. Negative 1 minus 2 squared. 0 minus 2 squared. 1 minus 2 squared. And 2 minus 2 squared. Now, I want you to notice I went through and plugged them all in before I did anything else. Okay, now I'm going to go through and kind of solve these. So negative 2 minus 2 is negative 4, and if I were to square that, it would be 16. Negative 1 minus 2 is negative 3, squared will be 9. 0 minus 2 is negative 2, squared will be 4. 1 minus 2 is 1, squared will be 1. 2 minus 2 is 0, squared will be 0. Okay, now we do have a little bit of an issue. I don't see anything repeating here. So really what I need to do on this one is to go through and to get some more points down here. I can see it's getting smaller. I'm hoping if I do a few more points, maybe I'll see that it's starting to get larger again, and we can see that pattern. So I'm going to keep my x and y going here. And now I'm just going to add some more points after this. So let's look at 3, 4, and 5 and see what we get. Just like the last time, we're going to take these 3 numbers and plug them in for x. So 3 minus 2 squared, 4 minus 2 squared, and 5 minus 2 squared. Okay, now I would take each one of these, I could plug them in my calculator, or I could kind of do what I was doing before. 3 minus 2 is 1, and if I square that, it's 1. 4 minus 2 is 2, squared would be 4. 5 minus 2 is 3, and 3 squared would be 9. Well, if I look now, I do see patterns. So let's use this spot over here and start to get our points together. So this will be my first one. So negative 2, 16. Negative 1, 9. 0, 4. 1, 1. 2, 0. And those all come from here. Now I'm going to go here. 3, 1. 4, 4. And 5, 9. Okay, now my job is to take these points and graph them on here. Now, like we did before, let's see if I can get it. Where's the handle? Here it is. Okay, I'm going to take it and put it back kind of in the direction I want to graph. I am going to label this X and Y just so I know which side is up. And then I'm going to start to graph. Now, I will tell you this first one, negative 2, 16, is not going to fit on here if we count by ones. So let's go to the next one. So negative 1, 9, 0, 4, 1, 1, 2, 0, 3, 1, 4, 4, and 5, 9. And then I'm going to go through and make my line through here. Okay, remember, it should look like a U down here, not a V. So absolute value would have a V. These do not have that. Okay, we have one more that we're going to do on here. So the next one, I'm going to start the same way. So this is number 2. The directions are going to be make a table and graph. And my equation for this one is y equals x plus 2 squared. Now we are going to go back and talk about the graphs a little bit when we get done. But I want to make sure you have some good examples to use first. So we're going to start out and make a table just like we did on the other ones. And I'm going to put my graph along the top there. Or excuse me, my equation from here, I'm going to put there. Now remember, I'm going to take this number and plug it in here, and I'm going to go one at a time all the way down. So negative 2 plus 2 squared. Negative 1 plus 2 squared. 0 plus 2 squared. 1 plus 2 squared. 2 plus 2 squared. Okay, now I would take each one of these and plug them in my calculator to get my points. So I'm going to get 0, 1, 4, 9, and 16. Now you'll notice it's almost the exact opposite of the last one we did. So if I look at this, if I want to look at the end that's getting smaller, it would be up here. So let's get a few more points from this end to see if we can start to get some stuff that's repeating. So if I went to the next ones at this end, then it'd be negative 3, negative 4, and negative 5. Sorry, apparently I'm making the worst lines ever. And I'm going to put this equation on top here. And now I'm going to go through and plug these numbers in here one at a time. Negative 3 plus 2 squared. Negative 4 plus 2 squared. And negative 5 plus 2 squared. I'm hoping I start to see some repeating numbers, I hope, when I do this. So if I plug in this first one, I'm going to end up with 1. If I plug the next one in, I'm going to end up with 4. And the last one will be 9. So you start to see the repeating piece that we need. Now, in this area over here, let's start to put our points together, or our numbers together to make our points. So you have negative 2, 0. Negative 1, 1. 0, 4. 1, 9. 2, 16. Negative 3, 1. Negative 4, 4. And negative 5, 9. Now I've got all these points, so I'm going to put them on here. So I'm going to zoom back out and do what I did before. Turn the graph around the right way. And I'm going to put, see if I can click, oh, there we go. I'm going to put X and Y on here to kind of help myself, so I know which way is up when I go to look. Okay, so I'm going to start graphing. So negative 2, 0. Negative 1, 1. 0, 4. 1, 9. 2, 16, I'm not going to be able to fit on there because counting by ones, it won't fit on here. So then I have negative 3, 1. Negative 4, 4. And negative 5, 9. Now, thank goodness I can see the pattern, so I can make my graph. Okay, we have several more of these to do. We're going to start to look at patterns, though. So if I look at this one in particular that I just ended with, my pattern, my parent function would have been there. Now, if I look, basically this graph has moved 2 over. So see how this is positive 2? So it's almost like it moved negative 2. It moved the opposite. If I look at this other one that I started with, here is my parent function. And this one looks like it's moved 2 to positive 2. And see how the equation came from negative 2? So when it's in the parentheses, you're almost seeing that opposite. Okay, we'll talk about this more in the next video.